Welcome to the J.R. Hendrick Texan Gentleman, a podcast that deals with the early life of J.R. Hendrick in a narrated format. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the Swain barbecue, where we look for a copy of a will with a codicil. This episode is called Conquest of Truth. Brent would have joined us today, but I sent him to find the secret place where my grandma wrote her codicil. Okay, now, this episode has the best behavior of JR and the worst of Kristen. To be honest with you, Kristen is going to get the bill quite a bit on this because, well, she's acting a brat. All right. So, here we go. We're going to try to get into the, here we go. We're continuing with the 23rd of August. So, I'm getting things to work out here. We cut to the Russell Senate office building, and Jim is having a meeting with Louisiana Senator Cordell Wheeler. Do you know Jim? I can't tell whether to be your friend or your enemy, Cordell said. What the hell? And Jim's like, what the hell for? One of the upstanding business associates in Shreveport set me up. I just got back from the doctor. I have syphilis. Said I could be in a wheelchair by March. Warned you not to double-cross me, Jim said, glaring at the senator with his dark blue eyes. All because all this time, I wouldn't play ball with you. I would have eventually compromised, Senator Wheeler said. Amanda and I are now in separate bedrooms. Our marriage is in trouble now because of you. And Jim's like, you committed adultery yourself. And don't lecture me about my past, peccadillos, Jim said. You got good in you, Cordell. It's just you let the bad of you get in the way. And the senator said, all right. So I was bad wrong. Let's shake hands and make up. And of course, Jim's like, says that idiot senator being hosed by venereal disease. All right, I'll shake hands with you and make up. But stop being Bill Clinton's lapdog. 3 p.m. Tired of being saddled with Denison Texas. Betsy hops on the plane, a private jet, that would take her from Midland to Dallas. They would refuel for a few minutes and then depart for Daytona Beach. 7 p.m. Central. Carmen has hamburgers delivered for JR and Kristen at her condo. 11 p.m. Eastern. At a hotel in Daytona Beach, Jim and Betsy are making some good love. Alright. See if we can get things. Here we go. So it's the next day, and we cut to JR's condo. Rachel, the weekend cook, makes grits for Kristen and brought JR some donuts. And Kristen's like, do you have to go to the law library today? And JR's like, honey, it's nonstop. You know what was, you knew it was going to happen when we were dating, when I started law school. JR said, well, when are you coming home? Home in time for lunch and dinner. You just keep the home fires burning, Gerald said, kissing Kristen. 8 a.m. Eastern. Jim is speaking at a breakfast function for the Republican Florida Congressman Blasio, who had been calling him a patriot since late 1993, saying he supported his appointment, hoping he could talk some sense in Clinton. But now, Blasio was joining Jim in saying that there was no talking sense into Clinton. 8 a.m. Central. President Clinton is in limousine in Chicago, and he gets a call from Dick Morris saying that he has to resign because of a sex scandal. And so he disgusted. The president hangs up the phone, tells the driver to step on it so he can get to Hillary. 12 p.m. Eastern, back at the hotel Daytona Beach poolside, Jim and Betsy and Jim's dream team are getting a massage. 12 p.m. Central, at the condo, JR and Kristen are having homemade hamburgers. And Kristen says, I'm going with Pauline and Betty to make some Emma-Star calls this afternoon, Kristen said. Trying to join me back here at 6. We're going to have homemade hamburgers for us, JR said. Well, she didn't have to go back to that law library. Darling, you should know me by now. I need to be on the cutting edge and competitive edge, Gerald said. Okay, so it's 1 p.m. Eastern. Jim and Betsy have been requested to appear in the boardroom at the hotel at the request of a congressional aide. Please sit, the young aide said. Congressman Blasio is tired of you two being lambasted by the press. So he brought in a special guest. I heard you're going to be resigning, Justin Ryder said. Why are you here? Betsy asked. And Jim, he steps in. I know. He's a part of my exit team now. And Bade said, he is. being paid by a business interest of Congress. And Bessie's like, you're telling me that Justin Ryder is being financed by Balasio's business associates? Bessie said. And Justin Ryder said, I told him I'd step in. The fact is, we know the Clinton presidency is corrupt. And I ain't lying. The attack plan, we execute. 2 p.m. Eastern. In that same boardroom in Daytona Beach, Jim is being interviewed for the Blake Carter show. To discuss the attack plan introduced by Justin Ryder. Okay, so it's 3 p.m. Central, and at the Clark duplex, Brent is tired after pounding the pavement all day looking for good jobs. Jesse hands him a bottle of ice cold water. Amy Kathleen, who flew in from Abilene to see the Clarks, talks to Brent. You should know that J.R. put himself out of the foods industry and put in our cousin, Kristen, Amy Kathleen said. No consequence to me, Brent said. He left the Hendrick family vicious power circle and started something new. Jesse, I need to please talk to Brent alone. And be careful, friend. So Jesse returns to her side of the duplex. And Amy Kathleen says, well, Daddy always said you need a good kick in the pants to get you in the right direction. And Brent's like, so? And she said, so we didn't always go visit the ranch on weekends and holidays. We saw each other a lot when we were kids. And I believe that you are wonderful. You still have that in you, Brent Clark. So now it's 3:30 p.m. Central. Christine is in the Midway Prep Library working on calculus. She's hoping to use a calculus problem. Get this. She's hoping to use a calculus problem to set up a strategy because Mike Fields told her early that morning that they have to cut back on production. Okay? So now it is 4 p.m. Central. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, for the first time in a while, Rachel rides out to meet Thomas, who is mending fences. Thomas, you got a letter from your great aunt, Corina Charleston. The letter he received was pretty clear. Grandma's brother Jack had returned to the family in Denison and had fallen ill in the hospital. And she was asking the family to pay for some of the medical bills. She also mentioned a Scottish gentleman stopping down to see her from Arizona. And Thomas loses it. He disappears big time in World War II. And then he reappears. And it's strange that at the same time appears that the husband of a woman that Uncle Jim got pregnant. Just perfect. And Rachel said, the letter from Karina says you're the person in last resort. And Thomas says, Uncle Jim Hendrick is going to say no. He was angry at the surprise of the Hammond family reunion 6 years ago. With all he's going through, he sure don't need this. So now it's 4:30 p.m. Central, and JR is asked to come to the main Texas Tech library to meet family lawyer Eric Augustine. And he says, I heard you share a section in law school with a young upstart student named Paul Baxter Jr., Eric said. His father and I share a partnership, and he happens to be engaged to my granddaughter, Maria. And JR is like, Paul, why don't you go ahead and get a soda, and while I go off to government doctrine session and look for some of the cases we're going through next week. So he shoos off Paul to go look up some more cases. And why? What do you think? Private meeting with his family lawyer. Okay, and so Eric Augustine's like, why the private meeting? And Gerald says, I have to see my grandma's will. And Eric's like, oh no, Gerald, I can't do that. You see, she wrote a codicil when she was in her last chemo phase. No one can see it till it's read. I have a right to see her will, but not when there's a codicil. And Jared's like, I don't care about that. Show me now. And Eric says, you don't know who you're messing with. I was loyal to your granddad. We were friends way before your dad. So don't you ask me for the will. All right, because of loyalty to granddad, I won't. Okay, so here's this next part here. Kristen had lied, believe it or not, had lied and told JR that she was having dinner with Betsy Chavez. But instead, she goes to see Brent. And she's wearing an all white jumpsuit suit with some white slip-on pump shoes with some glitter on them. Brent, how are you? Kristen asked. And Brent's like, oh, I'll make it. Hello, JR. But life isn't as rosy as I thought. He doesn't seem to be that much interested in the business like he used to be. He dallies around in that law library now. She's moaning and complaining. How haven't you going to work brilliantly if you'd stayed? And Brent's like, doesn't make a blind bit of difference to me. And she's begging, please, Brent. We got what we wanted. That's enough for me. Stop complaining and go back to JR. He loves you. I'm not sure about that anymore. You need my help more than he does. Ooh, Kristen. Kristen! Sorry, girl. Bell time. And it's sad it has to come to this, because Kristen was good there for a while, but she's starting to show her true colors. And to tell you the truth, it just becomes more and more apparent. And Brent says, I can jumpstart my career without your help. And Kristen keeps begging, but we were a team. And he said, you and me against the world? You're starting to sound a lot more like JR. I'm telling you, go back to him. Because he really loves you. He fought for you after being dumped by Jennifer Bowers and Karen Crowder. Stay away from my shriveled little lifestyle. Stay away from my shriveled little lifestyle. And I gotta say, as much as I like Brent, in this, all honesty, I don't. Okay? Just so you know. It's just plain to see. Stay away from my shriveled little lifestyle. And, back and forth between him and Kristen, and to be honest with you, it's pathetic. Okay, so it's 8 p.m. Eastern in Daytona Beach. Jim and Betsy have a little star-studded steak dinner in honor of the congressman. It's a steak dinner, a fundraiser, with Jim being the featured speaker. 11 a.m. Central. Kristen is taking a nap at the condo. JR gets on the phone. Paul, this is JR. Listen. I'm sorry. I whisked you away. Let's get together after class, maybe, for lunch tomorrow. Let's get to know each other more, Gerald said. Well, I like that. When and where? Sneeze Snack Bar at noon, Gerald said. Fine, I'll be there. Paul Baxter Jr. says. Using the online student directory, JR picks up the phone and calls Susan Inahoff, whose uncle happened to be a friend and associate of Jim Hendrick, asking her to appear at the snack bar the next day. Meanwhile, at her condo, even though Kristen was supposed to be taking a nap, she picks up the phone and calls Jesse. And she's like, I don't have anything to say to you. And Kristen's like, I think you do. My boyfriend is supposed to be picking me up at the studio. And I figured that I could get him to drop me off at Gardsky's, where we can have lunch. 1 p.m., Kristen said. Fine. I'll meet you there. Brent's mom is going to be with him tomorrow anyway. Okay, so it's 1 p.m. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Thomas told Rachel that Betsy and Kyle had agreed to wire him some money secretly to send to Denison, Texas, to pay for medical bills for a dying Jack S. Hammond. He also gave instructions from Betsy to Great Aunt Karina to turn the gentleman from Arizona away at the door. Okay, 1 p.m. Meanwhile, okay, all right. This is a Sunday school party. JR and Kristen are there, and Kristen's complaining. What the hell are we doing here? And JR's like, pissed. Act like a lady, please, Kristen, JR said. I don't like the music. Let's go home. Damn it, Kristen. If you're going to be with me, try to be social here, please. All right. We have lunch now, and we go straight home. Stop acting up and I'll consider it. So it's obvious that they're bickering. You know, because friends are engaging JR. And Kristen's just not having it. 5 p.m. Central. As Kristen makes some business calls, JR is up on the library. Alright, so now August 26th. 9 a.m. Central. Jim's Uncle Isaac has gone back to Montana after being with him in the Daytona Beach rally. But so he's back. Jim is back at the EAA preparing a media backgrounder on his new legislation supportability for small business. 1 p.m. Central. At Gardsky's, Kristen shows up to meet Jesse. It's around maybe 1:10 p.m. Sorry I'm a little late. Stupid JR forgot to get his driver to pick me up at the studio today, Kristen said. And Jesse's like, furious. Sit down. Brent and I don't want to hear any more complaining that you have against JR. And Kristen's like, look, I'm sorry. I caused a lot of us a lot of headache this past year. If you're looking to trade JR for Brent, forget it. No. Actually, I'm so confused. I don't know which end is up. I don't know what I want. And Jesse's like, well, then maybe you should marry JR because he loves you. And Kristen breaks down crying. JR don't even notice me. He's too busy chasing power in law school. And Jesse loses it. Oh, please. Stop grasping at straws. Betty Spaulding said that she heard you complain all last semester that you wanted a man. Well, you got yourself a man. You've got J.R. Hendrick. And go off and be with him. You deserve happiness too. I just haven't found it yet. So now it's 5:30 p.m. JR returns to the condo to find Brad, Karen, Dr. Michelle, Jim Bob, and a crying Kristen. Where the hell have you been? You were supposed to pick me up at the studio after class today. I had to hop in a cab just to go have lunch with Jesse. Now guess what? The studio producer sees me as a failure, Kristen said. Look, I'm sorry. I would have been there. But damn it, you know, I have a damn demanding law school career. I had to meet with my professors. My lunch date with Paul Baxter Jr. got canceled. So chill out. And Karen steps in. Kristen, come on. I've known JR for nearly 3.5 years now. And the one thing I know about him is that when he finds himself a girl, he's a lost loyal puppy dog. Always seems to talk about this last summer with you. Even Brad got jealous. And Brad's like, well, not anymore. And Dr. Michelle steps in. Okay, all right, enough of the speeches. JR, you and Karen get to go with Brad and Jim Bob. Karen and Donald get to come with us. Okay, so now it's 7 p.m. Lubbock Municipal Auditorium. And it's concert for Carmen Lupacella. And it's a Conquest of Truth tour. Now, of course, Peter Jenner is the opening singer. But Carmen sings the songs for the album, Conquest of Truth album. Exalt God, Conquest of Truth, Anthem of Repentance, Faith Steps, and Bible Praise. And to Karen's consternation, Karen's consternation, we all got backstage passes to meet with Carmen during intermission. 11 p.m. Central. The motorcade arrived back at JR's condo, where JR and Kristen make up. I'm so sorry. I know you didn't mean to stand me up, Kristen said. Not your fault. Come on. Let's have one last holding session. An appetizer. Before I take you back to your condo. In 30 minutes, Gerald said. And Amanda, let's go and give these two some room, Karen said. Pretty interesting where that's come from. Now, from JR. Wednesday the 28th, Daddy went to the budget meeting without a hitch. For me, the next few days passed quietly. But I did go to an Amstar meeting on Tuesday. And J. Reuben Clark's devotional on Wednesday. On Tuesday night, the 27th, Phil Bader attacked my daddy personally on the society page. Under direction of Florida Congressman Blasio, the Citizens for Integrity Coalition signed and filed a lawsuit against the media companies for blasting my mama and my daddy. In kind on the evening of the 28th. Daddy joined the congressman on TV with Greg Sanders, blasting corruption in both parties in Washington, D.C. Forced to do so by the SBA administrator, Daddy decided to support Ross Perot for president. Okay, so now it's the 29th, 9:30 a.m. Central. Legal practice class. Friedrich McKay begins with an open discussion. Today we're going to be looking at the case of City of Amarillo versus Arrington. This case was decided by the Texas Supreme Court in May 1995. Ms. Inhofe, please explain what the court's holding was. That a city ordinance banning pornography was not enough. According to Eisenstadt versus Speed, also decided on the same day, which affirmed a court of appeals ruling on June 20th, 1992, in accordance to stare decisis impressment. Excellent work. I'm not sure how many of you guys really studied this case. And we get down to the nitty-gritty, Professor McKay said. 11 a.m. Central, property classes drones on 1 p.m., JR is having a good time listening to the other students get involved with a deep discussion in torts class, taught by his old rhetoric professor, Sam Barnett. Barnett had been removed by Dean John McComb in May 1993. But in November 1993, John McComb was removed from Dean, and it was given to Dean Satie, who Brent said November 1995, Satie fired McComb. Barnett was now teaching at the law school. Okay. 3 p.m. Eastern. Jim is meeting with Justin Ryder to prepare for his 10 a.m. press conference the next day. 5 p.m. Central, JR and Kristen decide to have Arby's for dinner on the balcony of their condo. Okay, so now it's the next day, the 30th, 10 a.m. Central. In civil procedure class, Professor Francis opens up the discussion. Today we cover subject matter jurisdiction, particularly in the case of John Klein Development versus Houston Chamber of Commerce. Mr. J.R. Hendrick, please give us the facts of the case. Case was decided in 1973. Though it began the summer of 1964, when the city of Houston reluctantly gave permission for the development to produce a diner, a gas station, a liquor store, and 2 banks. This was on June 30th, 1964. However, on July 14th last year, the Chamber of Commerce agreed with a city official that said that it should not happen. And 2 days later, they filed for the Justice of the Peace, Jared said. Once again, this is a dispute of subject matter jurisdiction. And even though in late November 1964, the Justice of the Peace found in favor of the development, the case made its way to the Texas Supreme Court on June 30th, 1973. J.R. Hendrick, please give us the issue that is being brought before the court. Counsel for the chamber felt that the development arguing that the Justice of the Peace did not have subject matter jurisdiction was moot. And Francis says, that's right. And just so you know, those of you interested in moot court, the complaint petition deadline to sign up for that is tomorrow. Okay, so now we're at the Sneed Snack Bar. It's 1 p.m. Central. And JR arrives at the snack bar and gets himself a Dr. Pepper, and in walks Paul. Paul Baxter Jr. I didn't know your family knew my family lawyer, JR said. How else would my father get a call from your father requesting that he write a letter of recommendation for you to go to law school? Paul said. So one of the guys in our section snickered at me because they think I got into law school just because I'm engaged to Mr. Augustine's granddaughter. Well, wouldn't they be wrong? I saw you in class, and I don't care what those people think. Looks like our orders are ready. And well, here comes a special friend. Susan walks over to Paul. Fancy meeting you here today. I didn't know. You went to law school. To other parts of campus. Just because I went to Baylor doesn't mean my father didn't show me around the campus. By the way, Paul, JR, I'm having trouble in property class. Can you guys help me? And Paul's like, well, and Gerald's like, well, now Paul is more excellent in property law case than I am. I have a hard time understanding the damn professor, Gerald said. And I say, Susan, I'm sorry that Rob broke up with you 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and I got a little lonely. But I'm not interested in falling in love again. Paul spoke up. My girl Maria is going to be studying at the main library tonight. Let's meet there. I know that JR has a good study, Carol. So they arranged to meet that. And okay, so it's 2 p.m. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Elizabeth Marie is on the phone with Amy Kathleen. I don't mind sitting around the ranch. It's just that with Aunt Betsy gone, I have this major undergraduate thesis with nothing to do, Elizabeth Marie said. You can work locally on the Dole campaign, Amy Kathleen says. And Elizabeth Marie says, well, I kind of agree with Jim that Dole's weak nominee. I'm applying to a variety of university centers to help out with the public policy. And Amy Kathleen says, take care of this. Of course, she has to get off the phone. Okay, so it's 3 p.m. Central. Betsy's car service pulls up into the drive of the condo when she sees Kristen leave Gerald's condo. Hey, girl. Don't be a stranger, Betsy says. How how about you go back in there and say hi to Jim, Betsy says. Hello. But I've been asked to go to the studio and call my dad. He thinks he should know about my relationship with JR, Kristen said. Of course. But at least stop by this weekend sometime to see the family. Okay, so it's 5 p.m. Christine, Jennifer, and her boyfriend, Justin, are having dinner rather, at the Blue Onion. And Jennifer says, girl, you need to step away. Hendrick Foods is not your fight. And Justin's like, on the other hand, Jennifer, it is. I read the newspapers. Her brother gave up owning the business so he could go to law school. Avoid the conflict of interest. Okay, so it's 10 p.m. Paul and Susan have been studying at the library for some time, and Paul says, I have to get back home. And Susan's like, geez, look at the time, it's after 10. JR was supposed to be here by now. And JR opens the door to his old study carrel to find Paul and Susan studying. Okay, Mason ass. Surrender to me this study carrel, JR said. I'm sorry. I lost track of time, Susan said. Relax. Now, Paul. Meet me up at the law school tomorrow morning after breakfast. The rule in the game is for influence. I scratched your back. Now you have to scratch mine. It helps you. It helps me. And it helps Maria. Please give it some thought. Paul vigorously shakes JR's hand. You got it. Tomorrow morning. Law School Lecture Hall 109. And he leaves and Susan's like, did you get what you wanted? And JR's like, yeah, that's exactly what I want, honey. I mean, after all, as Daddy said on the air this morning, it's time for the conquest of truth. So it's getting pretty interesting and hectic, if you will, if I can get this thing to work. So now, August 31st, 7 a.m., as JR is having breakfast with his family, Kristen is having oatmeal in her own condo when her father calls. You better not be out of this relationship. I had to bail you out of a lot of crap last year. And Kristen's like, chill out, Dad. You know, maybe in a cooling off period, but I still do love him. And her father says, does the name Mike Fields ring a bell? He's called me several times this week to make sure everything's on the up and up and your intentions towards JR. Okay, so it's 9 a.m. Central. At the law school, JR meets with Paul Baxter Jr. Get me my grandma's will ASAP. Mr. Augustine owes my dad a favor. You let me make a few phone calls, and I'll meet you at the law library tonight at 11, Paul said. You know, if you weren't dating this musician Kristen, I could see you and Susan be quite a pair, quite a team. Number 1, I don't do rebounds. Number 2, I want Kristen's hand in marriage. I finally made myself very clear to you. Crystal, I'll see you later on tonight. Okay, so it's 11 a.m. And Jim and Betsy, Kyle and Madison, Claude and Janet, they're having lunch together. And the topic is the Titans ball in a few weeks. Okay, 11 p.m. At the law school, Paul Baxter Jr. meets JR in Lecture Hall 109. I hope this works. A copy of a copy, Paul said. Let me know when you and Maria get married. And I'll send you to the best wedding gift, Jared said. See you in class Tuesday. As Paul walks away, JR opens his wallet to a picture of his grandfather. Must be nice when Granddad's the big guy. I love you. And scene. I give this 3.4 sprites, a copy of Grandma Swain's will, and backstage passes to a cool Christian concert. Jara, I give a copy of Grandma's will, backstage passes to the concert, and old study carol at the library. Alright, there we go. Hope you enjoy listening to the J.R. Hendrick Texan Gentleman. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, become a part of the adventure. This is the James Hendrick of Power Network saying until next time, get ready for the rest of the story. It gets bumpy from here.